here's Brody Brazil.
We start with the San Francisco 49ers, who are, in my opinion, the most interesting pro sports team right now in the Bay Area. And that's saying a lot because you have the defending NBA champion Golden State Warriors like 60 miles up the road, and they're playing, and they're having some interesting parts of their season. But the 49ers, to me, are like a content machine. They're always captivating. There's a storyline. They mostly keep winning. As of right now, they've won 6 games in a row. And so maybe I'm a little bit hot on the 49ers bandwagon. Wait a second, though. I should explain. My name, Brody, is after the 49ers quarterback of decades ago, John Brody. So if you're going to criticize me of jumping on any bandwagons, not this one, not this time. It's my namesake, for goodness sakes. But yeah, the 49ers had a 3-4 start to this season. Since then, they've won 6 in a row. Oh, they're 9-4. And you look at what's left of their schedule for the rest of this season, there's some more winnable games. So they're definitely going to get to double digits. Let's see how many more they can stack on, what kind of momentum they can gain going into the playoffs. But there's also a little bit of reservation there, which I'll explain in just a second. And you kind of know what I'm getting at. A team that's already had its misfortunes, losing 2 quarterbacks, and still, thanks to Brock Purdy, in stride. Brock Purdy and others, by the way. We'll touch on that in just a second. But I mean, what are the chances? You have this whole conversation all summer long. Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo. What are you going to do? Oh, it's Trey Lance. Uh-oh, Trey Lance is hurt. Uh-oh, Trey Lance is out for the rest of the season. Now we need Jimmy Garoppolo. Thank goodness the 49ers were diligent in keeping him around for a multitude of reasons, but now they need him in an immediate role. Turns out, he's out for the rest of the season. So we'll get to Brock Purdy in just a second, but just kind of the feeling about this year, right? What a story this season would be if it pans out to a far length. I don't even know how far this team is capable of going, maybe all the way, but under the shadow of losing 2 starting quarterbacks like that with similar injuries and maybe even the criticism of you shouldn't have had them in those play-calling situations to get injured, but I digress. How about the acquisition of Christian McCaffrey, which in retrospect might have saved this team's season? An offensive weapon that's going to help out whoever is under center, right? Didn't get to play with Trey Lance. Obviously, Jimmy is out hurt. But now he's in there with Brock Purdy, and you can use him in a multitude of ways. You can throw him the football. You can hand it off to him. And the Christian McCaffrey trade, I want to go back to this, risky in a sense of what you were giving up, but also what even were you going to get? A potentially injury-prone player. Last year it was the ankle that kept him out, I want to say, from November through the rest of the way. And even as I record this right now, dealing with some kind of knee injury that lets him play, but maybe he can't fully do everything as he wants to or is supposed to. So it was a game-changing move by this team to really go for it back then when they did, how they acquired him, obviously a lot of family connections, the name, the history at Stanford as well. So a very regional, heartwarming story, but an important player to add to your squad now, especially looking back. I don't think that's any stretch to say that move saved this season and kept it going right now for the 49ers. But going back to Brock Purdy, you think about the 2022 draft, and it gets to pick 261, and he's not selected, and there's only one more choice left. And he, the quarterback from Iowa State, is sitting there. He's 262, and immediately gets that title, Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, first off, the fact that that's a thing, right? That's not on him. That's a long-standing title for anybody who's picked last, like in the NFL draft. To have that thrown on you, it's almost like all you have to do is respond to that at some point in your career, and then people laugh at the Mr. Irrelevant. They call you Mr. Relevant. And I think when you start your first game and beat Tom Brady, now, again, small sample size, let's see what he's going to do and what he has to do the rest of this season. But that in the moment right there, and when you trounce Tom Brady and Tampa like they did, that right there is the moment where you're Mr. Relevant all of a sudden. So I just think this is such a storybook situation, and as much as nobody wanted him to have to be in this position or situation, especially the 49ers, there's like something special to this, something special in the air when you really sit down and think about what's happening. It's like a movie script. It really is. And then when Debo goes down this past weekend in the game, you're thinking, oh no, again? Are you serious? Like what is really going on here? And it's almost like the 49ers, as they see this season go and you have this winning record and things are still going along fine and you've taken hits here and there, you feel doomed but also destined. Like watch them overcome this. Their team defense, by the way, has been a huge part of overcoming things, which I'll elaborate on in just a second. But it is that catch-22, feeling doomed, but also feeling like, well, none of this has stopped the team yet. They're still on this 6-game win streak. Where does that even end? Or does it even end the rest of the way in the remaining weeks? Going back to Debo, again, that's a player that now they say, as of today, is going to return by the end of the regular season. Fingers crossed that is actually the case. And you look at how he got hurt, the play calling, and how he's been used this year. 50 catches versus 37 rushes. There was the thought that there wouldn't be that many rushes and there'd be a lot more catches. But that's not how it's turned out this year. Again, going back to your key offensive players, and there are many of them, this is a big one. And I think when he comes back, you may want to think about using him differently and reworking those expectations to make sure you have him the rest of the season and hopefully in some playoff games. But going back to the 49ers defense, like a lot of football teams in a lot of seasons, the lack of credit is there because it's not the sexiest part of any football team or their game, but it's noticeable, right? When you pay attention to how a team got there, think about this. The 49ers defense allows 268 yards to the opponent on average per game. 268 yards, that's the top ranking in the National Football League. How about this? First downs. They've only allowed opponents to 214 first downs this year. That is also a number one ranking in the National Football League. And I point out Dre Greenlaw here. He had the interception of Tom Brady this past weekend. He leads the 49ers in tackles. So there's the defensive line, you could say, is, the key part of it, but somebody like Dre Greenlaw making tackles behind them, key part of this team. And the reason why they're here. And that's what makes me wonder. Quarterback is such an important position, like the goalie in hockey, like the pitcher in baseball. It's that primary performer position. But the 49ers are so loaded on defense. They're so loaded with offensive weapons. I'm not saying, do you need your quarterback? I'm saying, are we finding out that they're so well built around the quarterback position that all that person has to do is facilitate the playbook, facilitate the football, and they'll still be fine? That remains to be seen. Okay, so my prognosis on the 49ers, the rest of the way. Are you at least entertained? Are you not at least entertained? Can't even read my own writing here. Like this season, I get it. It's not optimal. You didn't want to lose quarterbacks. You're hoping that this good regular season can pan out into a good finish, ultimately winning some playoff games and the whole deal here. But football fans seem to love drama. They love conversation. They love storylines. Holy moly, if you're on the 49ers this season, has provided that. So entertainment value, completely high for this team this season. But I think ultimately, right, you're in this business to win games, to win a Super Bowl. And the franchise has no doubt gone in the right direction here in the Kyle Shanahan era. First 2 years, acclimation process, building what you want. 2019 goes to the Super Bowl. 2020 was a bust season in a lot of different ways. It was a bust year for a lot of us. And then back to the NFC Championship game last year. We'll see where they go this year. And that's kind of the last thing I'll leave it with here. Eventually, right, you're building towards something. You have this good group of players, and maybe you add to it from this season to the next. At some point, you want to get over the hump, right? You want to win the Super Bowl game when you get there. You want to win the NFC Championship game to get you back to another Super Bowl. At some point, you hope for this group that they can get everything together and that they can get over that hump. And a big deal even next year will just be getting Trey Lance back in there and hopefully healthy for a full regular season and beyond. So that's my 49ers prognosis. That is my state of the San Francisco 49ers.